Is Israel digging itself into a hole that it may ultimately find impossible to crawl out of? A top Netanyahu ally has issued what may be the strongest and most direct warning yet to Washington over Iran. The United States is on a collision course with Israel, according to remarks made by Netanyahu's sports minister. Our response will be, is Israel now signaling it could openly challenge its biggest ally over disagreements on Iran? Are Netanyahu and his ministers biting off more than they can chew as tensions with Washington continue to grow?
If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world.
Another minister in Netanyahu's government has sharply criticized Trump's recent agreement with Iran. Israel's culture and sports minister Miki Zohar lashed out at key ally America over the emerging Iran deal. The Netanyahu ally warned that Washington could soon find itself on a direct collision course with Israel. The Israeli minister said, and I quote, "The conduct of the U.S. at this moment regarding the Iranian issue is not good. They do not internalize who they are dealing with. The U.S. will find itself on a collision course with Israel in the near future, and our response to the U.S. will not be automatic. Our security interest will dictate the military move. A U.S. agreement, in my opinion, will not solve the nuclear weapons issue, and the war phase will return faster than people think." The remarks came despite U.S. President Donald Trump repeatedly insisting that Iran will not be allowed to develop nuclear weapons. The Iran-U.S. Memorandum of Understanding also emphasizes Tehran's commitment not to pursue a nuclear arsenal. Iran, for its part, has continued to maintain that its nuclear program is intended solely for civilian purposes.
But as you know, we just achieved a historic peace agreement with Iran to end the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, yesterday, 19 million barrels of oil flowed out of the Strait of Hormuz, a very beautiful place. That's the most oil in the history of the Strait. No, it's never been any, you've never seen anything like that. It's called an oil gusher. And most importantly, we are ensuring one thing very importantly, because this is why I did it. I did it for this reason, 99% for this. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. But remember, this wasn't easy. We had 47 years worth of presidents and other people, other countries too. We're not the only one that never did anything. They were the bully of the Middle East. And now we're leaving Iran with no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft, no missile capability, no nuclear program. We're leaving them without any nuclear capacity, and they've agreed to that. And we're getting along quite well, although if you read the fake news, you never know. Think of it, the fake news. They have no army, they have no navy, they have no air force, they have no anti-aircraft. We can fly over Tehran just at will. Nobody going to do anything to us. And then I read the fake news that they're doing quite well. They're not doing quite well. But the Iran economy has been crushed, and their defense industrial base has been damaged so severely that it'll take them many years to rebuild, many, many years. And now we're trying to work out a deal that's fair. And we also want to work out a deal. You know, the stock market hit a new high today again. And oil, for the first time in months, hit, think of it, $70 a barrel. So we got it 70. That equates to a very low price. That oil is going to come charging down. And with oil comes everything else.
Signs of frustration over Trump's decision to sign a deal with Iran appear to be growing within Israel. On June 23, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also pushed for reducing Israel's dependence on American military support.
Now we stand before Iran and its proxies. We struck them. It is not over yet, but it depends on our strength where we will be in 30 years. It depends on our strength, and therefore what we are doing right now is building greater strength. I want practical independence. I greatly appreciate the support we receive, and which I also brought over the years, from our American friends. Today I say we need our own independent armament array. We are producing our own munitions to free ourselves from dependency, to build more and more power, to introduce more and more technology, to train more and more generations of commanders like you, because that is what will ultimately determine where we will be. And with God's help, with your help, we will be in a good place. Thank you very much.
Israel's Defense Minister Katz also defied Trump's broader regional approach, insisting the IDF would remain in Lebanon.
The IDF is prepared in the yellow line, and we are not retreating. We announced that in any case, we are not withdrawing, as of this moment, and this is a political achievement. There is no American demand for Israel to withdraw from Lebanon.
There is no such demand?
There is no demand, and in any case, we will not withdraw.
Even if there is an American demand, we will not withdraw from southern Lebanon.
But there is no demand. We've made it clear. The Prime Minister to the President, me to Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, the IDF. We are there to protect the residents of the North.
However, Israel's growing criticism of the U.S. Tehran Memorandum of Understanding reportedly triggered a sharp response from the White House. What began as a debate over the Iran Memorandum of Understanding is now exposing unusually public tensions between the United States and Israel, with the dispute spilling into open political rhetoric rather than remaining behind closed diplomatic doors. Vice President J.D. Vance's comments about Israel touched off a sharp rebuttal from one of the country's most outspoken ministers, turning a policy disagreement into a highly personal and very visible clash. Vance said that Israel cannot just kill its way out of its security problems, a blunt formulation that challenged the logic of purely military solutions and implicitly criticized advocates of an uncompromising hard power approach. He specifically named Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich as prominent critics of the U.S. Memorandum, singling out two of Israel's most hardline figures as emblematic of resistance to the emerging peace framework. The escalating war of words was detailed in a June 18 report by the Times of Israel, which described how the argument had intensified and how it was being framed in both American and Israeli political discourse. In a rare direct appeal, Ben-Gvir turned to X and wrote in English, addressing U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance by name in an attempt to speak over traditional diplomatic channels and rally public opinion. Ben-Gvir wrote, "This is the proposal, to deal with the Nazis of the 21st century, invoking a stark historical analogy to argue for a much more aggressive approach toward Iran and its proxies." His remarks deliberately evoked Second World War comparisons, dramatically escalating the rhetoric and underscoring just how charged and emotional the dispute over the Iran deal has become. Vance, for his part, pressed Israel to spell out exactly what its proposal would be to ensure long-term security, effectively challenging hardliners to move beyond slogans and articulate a realistic alternative strategy.
Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.